Hello, I'm M.K.Davis. I'd like to tell you a story. And this story is about 7 years old. But to me, it's fresh as if it were yesterday. Because it's a story involving a trip that I and two friends of mine took into Bluff Creek, California, looking for the famous Sasquatch. Now, this story comes in two parts. We made two trips into there. So I want to start with the first trip, which occurred in August of 2008, when the entire area, was full of fires and firefighters. Let's just take a look at some video.
All the smoke on the mountains. Where do you want us to sit? Right here. That guy 2 weeks, he said.
The firefighters escorted us into the area. We went in with a guy that I think was the head of safety and security, or someone in charge from them. And his name was Don Rainey, and a very, very kindly man who really, put himself out to make sure that we were, safe back in that fire zone. So we went back into the Bluff Creek area, the Patterson film site area in particular.
But it's too late now, but we're trying to get it switched around.
As you can see, the further you get back in there, the more smokier it got, and the closer to the fires, of course, the bigger danger you're in. So this is some of the video going in. Well, now we're about 25 miles back in the woods, and this is where we need to go, right here at this crossroad. Just to the right, you see this white vehicle is in our way. So we have to talk it over with the firefighters and get them to give us access to that road. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. And we're going to pull these vehicles out of our way and let us go down to the Patterson film site.
I guess we're heading down the road next to the Bluff Creek bat box and going into the site. The permission has been given to us by the Forest Service to go on down in spite of the fire situation, and we're anxious to take a look.
Here they're spraying down the heels of our boots with a little bit of Clorox solution, and this is to prevent the spread of root rot, which they say is becoming a problem down in that area, and it spreads via animals and humans between trees and eventually infects a large area, so they don't want that to happen. So we sprayed down before we went in there, and we'll spray again later.
Look at that grouse or something.
Blue grouse. It's called a rough grouse. Ruffle. That's what it's called, a rough.
We ran into a few problems along the way. Here, Mr. Law, big tree had fallen across the road. But we had the equipment to handle it. And we made our own way and eventually ran into an even larger problem, a rock slide. Uh-oh, rock slide. We got to get some of them out of the way, Don.
I got bones here. Let me check it out for see how far it goes.
All right, it goes. There's some major rocks. Rock slides. Well, to make a long story short, we were able to overcome that problem and get on down toward the film site itself, the Patterson film site on Bluff Creek. So just one hurdle at a time, and it's pretty clear that no one had been in there in quite some time.
Stop and think. Yeah, it's right over there.
You're not going anywhere yet. You're not going anywhere.
You're on the very edge.
At last, At last, we arrived at the bed of Bluff Creek. We're down in the creek, and the smoke is hanging fairly thick. Fires are not too far away, but we're going to do some exploring. Now, what's about to come up is kind of remarkable. You'll see a cable over a log, and that's at the Patterson site. And then up there in the brush, we notice there's a lot of broken trees. Now, this is fresh breaks, and this is in August, so this didn't happen back during the snowpack. This is recent, so we kind of discussed it a little bit. And we just kind of eased our way over there to kind of check it out. And we were just kind of set aback by how much power it must have taken to break these trees. So there's your cable right there. A logger's landing has a lot of broken cables because that's where they put the logs in the trucks. The roads come down off the mountain, and the trucks pull out onto that sandbar. And then they load their logs up, and they usually sprinkle lime in the sand to harden the sand so that it'll support the trucks and the logs. Let's just take a look at those tree breaks.
Here again. I tried it.
Well, you got any idea why they're broke like that? All in that one little grove.
I don't. It's like, we gotta go closer to them.
After seeing this fresh sign, we were pretty sure that they were in there. These breaks were very, very fresh, and when we went back in October, they had turned color, so we know that they could not have gone all the way back to the snow, and the snow having broke them, that this was too fresh for that. Whatever broke them had enormous power. I mean, look at the size of this tree, snapped off like a twig, and then bent over into formations, all right there on the Patterson film site, right there on that sandbar, which is now overgrown, but a place of history. And you see this one's been exploded from sheer weight. Now, let's fast forward 2 months to October. We come back into the area. The fires are gone. The firefighters are gone. And we're back in the area looking for more evidence. Not necessarily right there, but we did find something right there in the stream. And it was on the morning of October the 6th. And let's take a look at this. It's strange.
M.K. found this in the stream next to the rocks on the shoreline. We're going to put this in a baggie and take it back for whatever reason. Who knows? But it's possible M.K. even suggested human. I don't
know. I have no idea.
But the thing is, we're in an area now with all kind of abstracts, anomalies. Do we know? We do not know.
We made our way up the mountain. You can see how steep it is right here. It's virtually a 45-degree climb up the mountain on the other side of the Patterson film site. And you can see how difficult to climb it is. We made our way up that way to find a bit of a history there. You might remember in some of the old stories they said Bigfoot threw culverts off into the woods.
This is a culvert. How far up the hill we say we are, Don?
An hour and a half.
Well, in terms of distance.
1,000 feet?
Something like that. Up on the side of the hill, you see that this is not virgin country.
Let's see here. Oh, it's pretty long. It's 60 feet at least.
And they're big hoists and they're skidders because you got to get it up out of these canyons to the landing.
Well, to make a long story short, some ways above that, where those culverts were, down in that gully, that ravine, we found what we consider to be a lair of some sort, a place where something stays or has stayed or is staying. And it was pretty interesting stuff. Let's take a look.
I'll bid you adieu.
I don't really want to show too much of the lair, but this is what we found in the lair. We found an entire deer carcass with some of the bones. You know, it was nearly defleshed, and we found some of the bones that had been snapped open, and the marrow sucked out of them, along with fresh tracks. You know, here's one of the tracks right here. There were tracks, you know, pretty much everywhere inside this lair. You know, here it is on the side of the hill. There's another one right here, pretty heavy. All around this deer carcass, the bones had been snapped and the marrow sucked out. So we felt like that we were in the presence of Sasquatch, that they were somewhere around, didn't know where. You can see where the bones have been snapped and the marrow sucked out, just as clean as it can be. So we headed back from there, back down the mountain toward the creek. When coming down the mountain onto the creek, I came down first, and I crossed the creek. And I went this very trail here. Now here you see that's Don Monroe and my son Brian the following year. Now this is out of sight of the creek, and the creek is off to the left. And we're kind of just following this trail. Well, Don and my son Brian. But that's the same trail that I followed. And you see, I couldn't see anything in the creek when I followed this trail. So when I got up near the vehicles, I took a hard left and went out into the creek. And I did filming upstream and downstream. And here is where we start with that. Take a look on the lower right. Down in the shadows, you'll see a white object being moved. Now, Don has not made it down yet, and neither has Ken. And whoever that is unsupported by a vehicle. After I took the video, I took 3 stills. This still right here was taken at 3:37 p.m. And you can see here in the brightened up version that I did catch just a little bit of it on the far right side, and I'll have it. There it is right there, the foot and the leg. And just barely in the edge of it. And you can even see the toes if you look carefully at the end of the foot. That'll give you a little time to look at it. And now we go to the other photo, which was taken at 3:37 as well. It shows a little bit more of the creature, left leg and arm. And the final still that I took, and there's the properties inset, it was taken at 3:38 p.m. And then I walked past it, and there's Don sitting out in the sunshine. He's come off the trail on the hill there, and he's looking there. He sees something or hears something, but he told me he don't remember what he saw or heard. He was just something made him look. I never did see anything. I walked right by it, but I was looking in my little viewfinder as I walked by it, so I may have been too intent upon what I was doing there, videoing and taking stills, and evidently it must have pulled the limbs that were above it over itself. I never saw it, but I did notice in the two different pictures that something did change. In this photo, at the right there, right at the end of the arrow, you'll see something laying on the rocks there. It's got kind of a split in it or something. I'm not sure what it is, but it's gone in the other photo. So you see, it's gone there in this photo here. So it's taken it, picked it up, and done something with it in the just a few seconds between the photos. So don't know where it is. It might be up in the bushes. It's kind of anticlimactic to find something like this when it's 7 years old when you find it. Do I think this is Bigfoot? Most likely it is. We saw lots of sign, and we know it wasn't one of us. And there was no one else down there. And it's at a famous hot spot for Bigfoot sightings. So you be the judge, as always. But I think you're looking at a Sasquatch. And likely there was others there, too. We saw where all those big limbs were broken. Here's his back. Look at the breadth across his back. He turned away from me. There was no doubt heard Don or saw Don and was looking out at Don. You know, and there's that stick right beside him there. And when I on the ground there, and when I finished filming, took my stills, the stick was gone. So it used that stick in some kind of way, and he used that cloth, no doubt, in some kind of way. When all those firefighters were there, he probably picked it up. Anyway, as always, I leave it up to you. You be the judge, and I thank you for your time. And I thank Bigfoot for his time. Oh, one more thing. Here's Ken coming upstream. He came down into the creek, and this photo was taken at, I believe it says 3:39. So the last still of the creature at 3:38, the still of Don at 3:39, and the still of Ken at 3:39. So it was less than a minute between the last still I took of the creature, and I had to walk by that spot and out into the sunlight downstream to meet Don, and then I took him. He was already sat down peeling an apple. And so the story goes with the chronology.